And you're still watching Prime Morning. There's a lot that's happening in Parliament today. Parliament resumed seating after last week when a Speaker declared 4 seats vacant, making the NDC the majority in Parliament. The NPP decided to go to the Supreme Court where they sought for an interpretation, and the Supreme Court decided to interpret it. And in the interpretation, there's been a stay on the information from the Speaker of Parliament. Hence, today being today, they're going to court to know whether the Speaker will adhere to what the Supreme Court has said, or the Speaker will still stand his grounds and declare those 4 seats vacant. Let's not forget that as a country, we practice separation of powers. Now, today is a test of the law. Today is a test of our governance. What's going to happen? Currently, Honorable Atoforsen is seated, and he is the leader for the NDC. Let's go straight to Parliament to see what's happening. I did see that there were over 30 MPs that were representing the NDC, and earlier, actually, there were about 4 MPs that were representing the NPP. Currently, the numbers have grown. We also saw some party foot soldiers of the NPP that were actually sent there. They were bussed, over 10 buses took these party foot soldiers to the ground. We've also seen deployment of military personnel there. Now, earlier, there were a few questions from citizens as to why the military was on ground. But after they saw the party foot soldiers also on ground, people did understand why the military has to be on ground. Maybe they picked the intel that there could be some sort of violence, hence they had to be there to prevent it from happening. We know that the military's powers does not extend into the Parliament. However, it's at the entrance that it ends. And so the military will do their work outside and not inside Parliament. We are still waiting to see the Speaker's seat. We are waiting to see almost all the members of Parliament present in Parliament today. What will be the decision of the Speaker? Some people feel that it's going to go into the favor of the NPP because of what the Supreme Court has said. For others, they have also said that it should go in favor of the NDC because when they read our Constitution, Article 97, Clause GH, it states that if you vacate your seat, you shall, or if you decide to contest for a different political party, you shall vacate your seat. Now, I want to read this article to you because this has been the article that the NDC have been basing on, and that with this particular article, they are not vacating that seat. Now, this is what it reads. 1 second. Okay. So they say, Article 97(1), G and H. G says, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party to seek to remain in Parliament as an independent member, or H, if he was elected as a member of Parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party. Now, these are the clauses that the NDC is standing on to say that with that, they are majority in Parliament. Now, the NPP went to the Supreme Court for interpretation because any time there is a little misunderstanding in the Constitution, it's up to the Supreme Court, or it's up to the court, the High Court, to interpret. Now, the NPP did not go to the High Court, but rather went to the Supreme Court for interpretation. And the Supreme Court, they say that they stay with the decision of what the Speaker of Parliament said. Now, this morning, we are yet to hear the decision from the Speaker of Parliament. Will he decide to go ahead and stay with what he has said or with what the Supreme Court is saying? Let's take a few messages because we still have some messages, and then we go back into Parliament to see what's happening. My colleague Koko Asante is still on standby, and he's going to speak with a few people before Parliament proceedings start. And so I'll start with this one. This one says, Mensa Majid from Bechame, Toronto. Each organ of government should be allowed to do an independent work. What happened to the former MP has happened again, and the law wasn't different. Why are we trying to misinterpret the law to suit a certain group of people? Good morning, Roslyn. Okay, so I'm trying to read almost, oh wow, I have so many. All right, so I'll start with here. Let me go with this. Good morning, Joy Prime. I sell made in Ghana tea. Okay, you want to sell? Okay, so we'll get in touch with you with that. Okay, so this one says, state capturing is the agenda of the NPP. They will fail. Al-Hassan Sise from Zeno Central says, good morning to you and everyone. Ever since the issue of parliamentary majority and minority comes up and the speaker have to rule on it, I have been shocked and confused about comments of some lawyers and some professors who are now abandoned law and speaking with emotions while others are quoting the law. The dangerous thing that they are doing, or we are trying to do as a country, is we are gradually throwing our democracy to the dogs through the Supreme Court arrangement, and those are comfortable running to the Supreme Court today will surely regret their actions tomorrow as they are crying over their own precedent yesterday. Anyway, how many seats Bawumia and the NPP won at the polls that gives them the majority that Bawumia is talking about? Good morning, Rosalind. The current SC should now down. Okay, I don't understand what you're. Should bow their heads in shame for being so partisan. No wonder the CJ is described as a women's organizer of the NPP. This coming from Eric. Okay, so currently we are hearing that the members of parliament for both political parties have decided to sit at the majority side, meaning that the minority side has been abandoned. And so the NDC and the MPP are both seated at the majority side. We'll be bringing you a few details with what is happening in Parliament. We'll definitely tell you exactly what is going on. Koko Asante will be joining us to let us know exactly what is happening in Parliament. Currently, in Parliament, both political parties are seated on the majority side, so there's nobody at the minority side. But we know that the NPP has more numbers with regards to the number of MPs that are currently at Parliament. They have more numbers than the MPP does have, and they are seated there at the majority side. Even though the NPP has the least of numbers there, they have all decided to sit at that place. In 2021, we did see a similar thing. Now, in 2024, we are seeing a repetition. Elton has joined, and good morning, Elton.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good.
And it feels good to have you here.
Yeah, first time.
First time, yes. Thank you very much. You've seen what's happening in Parliament. Ghanaians, all they're asking for is peace. But with what we are seeing, especially with foot soldiers gathering there with the military on ground, also making sure that there's peace, people are asking, what's the police as well?
Well, the police, I don't know what is happening now, but as far as the military is concerned, the information we have is, this is coming from Parliament itself, the deputy clerk, that they have a standing arrangement with the Ghana military. So every morning, every Tuesday morning, they will go in and do their usual sweep to ensure that the chamber is ready for use by members of Parliament. The reason why we are seeing them this morning, according to Parliament, is because MP decided to go to work early today. But this is what they do every day before there is sitting. They go through the military checks, make sure that everything is set. Nobody has brought in any foreign material to the chamber. So that's exactly what they went to the chamber. So, and they do this every morning.
And they vacate after the
Yes, between 6 a.m. and sometimes 8 a.m.
Okay.
And then they leave.
Okay.
Usually members will come to work around 9 or 10. So you don't see them. But today, because they decided to do their own things, that's how come their presence has become so visible. That is the explanation that they are giving for the military.
Okay.
Internal policing is for the police, so you expect that the police will be, even them, they don't enter the chamber.
Yeah.
So today is very interesting. It's interesting because of the seating arrangement that MPs have issues with, based on the Speaker's ruling last Thursday, which he declared some seats vacant. And then the Supreme Court also ruled and allow some 10 days, some kind of consideration before the final determination of the case. It's unclear whether the Speaker will go by the ruling of the Supreme Court or will stay with his own ruling. Perhaps that's the reason why you find both MPP MPs and NDC MPs all seated on the majority side of the House. I can understand the thinking of the NDC MPs. Perhaps they are thinking that we don't know what the Supreme Court has done.
Okay.
So we'll operate with the assumption that the Speaker ruled on Thursday that 4 MPs are no longer fit to call themselves MPs. And for that reason, the numerical strength of the MPP is lesser than the NDC. So the NDC will consider themselves majority. We are unsure what the Supreme Court has done because the directive is not to us MPs, it's to the Speaker. So until the Speaker enters the chamber and say that I've been briefed by the ruling of the Supreme Court, I've been served with a copy of the ruling, and for that reason, I'm allowing that 10 days period to elapse before we take the next step forward. If the Speaker makes such a statement, then the status quo will remain. Okay. And then you will find the NDC MPs move from the majority side to the original position on the left side of the Speaker. Until that is done, the NDC MPs will say that, we are unaware of what the Supreme Court has done. The directive was not to us. We've not been served with any court ruling. So that is what is at play now. There's also some psychological warfare. We have some few days to elections, so people want to flex their muscles more. And that is what is happening. My disappointment, though, is that these are honorable members of parliament. And we expect them to live up to the title honorable. But what we are seeing does not depict that in a way. They are just trying to reenact what happened on January 7, 2021. During the election of the Speaker, led to some skirmishes and all those issues. People condemned it. Is the Speaker going to respect the ruling of the Supreme Court, or is going to say that Parliament, as an independent arm of government, has every right to do what they want to do? They are masters of their own rules, and for that reason, they are going to stay with the decision that those seats are vacant. That will set the stage for some chaos, if you like.
Really?
And clearly, the warm-up has been done in Parliament already. All the MPs are on the majority side because all of them consider themselves as majority MPs. The 4 MPs, I don't know whether they are in Parliament at the moment. If they are not in Parliament, it means that the NDC have more numbers. So we'll wait and see how this thing will play out.
Now, talking about that, you said it will set some sort of chaos if Parliament decides to be an independent body and stay with their ruling. Why will it cause chaos?
Because already we are hearing comments from some of the MPP MPs that the Supreme Court should come to Parliament and enforce their ruling, meaning that they don't respect what the Supreme Court has done. But again, I made mention of the fact that the ruling was to the Speaker to stay execution of his directive for 10 days.
For 10 days, yeah.
And the Speaker, we are told yesterday, was served. The legal department of Parliament was served, and they told the Speaker about what has happened. Will the Speaker respect the directive by the Supreme Court? That is a question that we are all waiting to see. Parliament will sit at 10 or any time after 10. If the Speaker was in the chamber and said, I have a communication based on this and this and that, I'm going to allow the 10 days to elapse before the substantive case is heard, and for that reason, the status quo will remain. It means those MPs that have been bad will come back to the chamber and do their work as members of Parliament. If he says otherwise, then it means that his ruling on Thursday was so stunned, and that means that the MPP will find themselves on the left side of the Speaker, the NDC will sit on the right side of the Speaker. So it's a very dicey matter. And the Speaker is a lawyer.
Won't there be chaos in the NDC if the Speaker also decides to go with the ruling of the Supreme Court, because they feel that the Speaker is one of them, and so the Speaker should actually do something in their favor?
What I've heard some of the MPP MPs say, Mahama Yariga and a few other people, they are saying that they are waiting to hear what the Speaker will say. If the Speaker says that this should happen, I'm sure they'll have to go by it. In the chamber, the Speaker has the final authority on matters of this nature. The Speaker's words will carry some weight. And for that reason, if the Speaker's decision is that I have been briefed or I've been served with a ruling of the Supreme Court, and I'm going to respect the ruling of the Supreme Court, and for that reason, we're going to allow the 10 days to stand. Then, obviously, the NDC MPs, unless they can use the parliamentary practice, which I don't see it happening, to state their case, they'll have to go back to the left side of the chamber. And that is clearly what may happen. But if the Speaker says, I'm not going to respect the ruling of the Supreme Court, then clearly the 4 MPs will have to stay out of Parliament for now. And then the NDC will find themselves in majority.
Now, talking about that, what are the foot soldiers doing? Because this is actually getting a little worrying, because this should not get to the level where we see foot soldiers on the ground. What are they doing there?
It's very interesting that you find, and these are party foot soldiers, not just any party foot soldiers, clad in party colors, and I've seen some from the MPP side. I'm yet to see
the
NDC side. So, and you know the communication that came from Parliament yesterday restricting access to the conference hall, meaning that those people have no access to. So what they've pitched camp at the main car park of the Parliament House. Exactly. So at the conference hall, you will see some normalcy happening. The MPs will have the freedom to go about their duties. Clearly, what this is telling us is that if there should be chaos in the chamber, it may have a reflection on the supporters who are outside.
Yeah.
And that could potentially create a situation which we may not be able to control. Because if you have NPP supporters massing up, you are likely to see
NDC
also in the next few minutes to come. That is likely to happen. I don't think this is what we need at this very moment. The matter at stake is interpretation of the standing orders of Parliament and the Constitution of the Republic. The Supreme Court has made its position clear on this matter.
Now, these party foot soldiers do not understand some of the things that we're saying. If the Speaker should not say it as it should be said, and the Speaker decides to go ahead with what the Supreme Court has said, the NDC foot soldiers will not be happy. It could cause chaos outside. If the Speaker also decides to stay with whatever he has decided to say, then it means that the MPP foot soldiers will still not be happy. And so there is a potential chaos that is about to happen.
I mean, even for MPs themselves, you clearly will. I mean, you can say even same for those who are supposed to know better and then think right. The MPs themselves are obviously not going to be happy, depending on how the ruling will. I mean, the Speaker's comments will have consequences, whichever way you look at it. Whether you are MPP or NDC, the outcome of what the Speaker will say this afternoon will have some consequences for you. If the Speaker says that I'm staying with the Supreme Court ruling, the NDC will not be happy.
Yes.
And I've read comments. I've heard comments from some members of the NDC expressing what they intend doing on the floor, regardless of how this thing will go. If the Speaker says that, I mean, the Supreme Court can sit in their court and do whatever, but in the Chamber of Parliament, I'm the head, and I'm also going ahead with my ruling on Thursday. The MPP guys will also not be happy. And that is my fear, that when that happens, then you are likely to see some kind of explosion, if you like.
Yeah.
And you have supporters who are also warming up to see what their leaders will do, the kind of communication that will be sent to them, and then they will also be. So some people have asked for cool heads to prevail. The National Peace Council, they've led some negotiation. Last night, for example, I understand that the leadership of the MPP and the NDC, they tried to meet. It was not successful. What I've been told is that according to the MPP deputy whip, they made a call to the NDC leaders for a meeting. It didn't happen. Usually, before Parliament will sit, the leaders will hold a pre-sitting meeting with the Speaker.
Right.
It usually happens between 8 and 9. At this meeting, the leaders and the Speaker will come to agreement what exactly the business of the day will look like. So even before they walk into the chamber, the leaders are aware of the Speaker's mind. So even with this matter, by the way I'm seeing things, it doesn't look like there's a meeting happening now.
Because other parts of us
it's already in the chamber. And then the MPP guys are also in the chamber. So this pre-sitting meeting, I don't know whether it happened last night or it happened early this morning, but what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like it took place. So the Speaker has not met the leaders. So the leaders are not sure what the Speaker is going to tell them. That is dangerous. So
Anyway, that's dangerous. That's coming from Elting, and Kweku Asante is still in Parliament, and we want to get to know what's happening in Parliament currently. Kweku Asante, can you hear me? Hello, Kweku.
Well,
hello, Kweku, can you hear me, please?
From the Chamber of Parliament, a number of NDC MPs have already taken their seats at the majority side of Parliament, led by their leader, Dr. Kassia Latofosin, who has taken his chair on that black seat that has been taken ordinarily by the majority leader. And they say that they are the majority. So those are the scenes. You can see a number of these NDC MPs talking among each other, trying to get an appreciation of where they've come so far, insisting that they are the majority. We'll try and beacon some of them to come over to the press gallery and speak to some of us. But for those of you just joining our coverage, these are scenes from the Chamber of Parliament. You can see that only one side of the house is occupied. The side that is ordinarily reserved for the majority side have been occupied by the NDC MPs, and the side that have been supposed to be occupied by minority MPs have been left unoccupied. So both the NDC MPs and the NPP MPs have taken their seats at the majority side. The NDC MPs, numbering about 50 so far who have come in, have all taken their seats over there. And we are trying to beacon to some of them to get an understanding of what exactly their motivation is, given that the Supreme Court had ruled staying the order of the Speaker of Parliament declaring 4 seats vacant. That ultimately made them the majority in the House. That has been stayed. That will ordinarily mean that they should have gone back to the minority, but they say that they haven't had any communication whatsoever from the Speaker. And if the Speaker of Parliament comes in today and communicates to them that these are the new state of affairs and they should go back to the minority, they will perhaps consider doing that. So a lot more MPs coming in, and when they come in, they all sit at the majority side. So the NDC MPs are seated at the majority side. About 4 or 5 NPP MPs who are all around have also taken their seats at the majority side, because both sides now claim that they are the majority in Parliament. It's 8:34 now. The Speaker of Parliament is not expected in the chamber up until at least 10 a.m. when proceedings is ordinarily scheduled to start. That could be later, and we will get some information as to what exactly will happen with that, because both sides are. Since the MPs came in, early on there was a lot of tension outside the chamber when there were soldiers around with sniff dogs going all over the place, and then there were heavy police presence as well, a lot of roadblocks. A lot of NPP MPs have also come in around. We do not know as of yet if they are coming because of this, but there are around 300 MPP supporters who are in and around the precincts of Parliament wearing party paraphernalia. They are all there. And so it was a bit unclear if there was going to be chaotic scenes when they go in there and all try to take the majority side. But the good news so far is that no chaos, no NDC MP or no NPP MP have had confrontations with each other. In fact, the few NPP MPs who are around are currently in a conversation with NDC MPs. They are smiling about the situation. They are talking to each other. There have not been any confrontation at all. That is good scenes, because the tensions had been building up prior to this sitting commencing this morning. But they've all come in so far, and all of them are paying due attention to what exactly is happening and trying to be as peaceful and be calm about the situation as possible. I'll try and talk to a few of the NDC MPs who are around and try and get some understanding. No, I can bring him here. So I'll.
Bukwa Sante will be bringing us more details with regards to what is happening in Parliament.
So we wanted to conduct some interviews just at the pews.
Okay.
And we have, the Marshal Department has placed a ban on that for now. There are not going to be any new interviews within the chamber of the House. And so for Joy Prime audience, this is the situation. A number of NDC MPs have already taken their seats around the majority side, and the NPP MPs who are around, about 5 or 6, have also taken their seats in the majority side, all of them taking that side. No one on the minority pews waiting for the Speaker of Parliament to come and gavel the House in session. And then from there, ultimately, we'll see the guidance the Speaker of Parliament will give the House and what that will mean for proceedings.
Bukwa Sante will be bringing us more details with regards to what is happening within Parliament. And Maxwell Akbagba is also outside, and he will definitely be telling us what's happening with regards to the party for soldiers who are there currently. We see the NPP party for soldiers there. We hear that the military has left, and so the police will be taken over very soon. Also, we don't know if the NDC will also bus their foot soldiers there. We hope not, so that peace will prevail. But as we see now, there's a high possibility the NDC will also bus their party foot soldiers there. I have a Dr. Boabeng, who is a senior lecturer at University of Ghana and a political analyst, joining us on phone this morning. Okay, so we'll try and raise Dr. Boabeng again. But, you know, from what Kweku is saying, currently they can't even conduct any interviews in there within Parliament. Why so?
Because it's a tense atmosphere.
Okay.
And, you know, this is not the usual parliamentary chamber. This is a makeshift chamber. The chamber is undergoing some kind of, yes, exactly. Yeah. So they are sitting at the Accra International Conference Center. Usually, if this was to be Parliament, I mean, the presence, the press area will be available for some kind of interviews. But in this new chamber, it's like open space for everybody. So I'm sure they are trying to restrict movement here and there. But it's unusual. I mean, the media is there to do their work.
Yeah, it's quite unusual because we wish to hear what they have to say.
Yes, if MPs have started to misbehave, it is not our,
exactly.
Our business is to report the news, so you can't stop us from doing so. And I think maybe the Marshal's Department should be told in plain words that they can't stop the media from doing their work.
I like what you just said, and so we'll see if we can tell the Marshal Department that. But before then, Dr. Boabeng has joined us again. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana and also a political analyst. Good morning, Dr. Boabeng.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, by God's grace, I'm good, and I hope you're also doing well.
Doing very fantastic. For the first time, we are witnessing history. And with regards to Parliament, where it started like a hang Parliament, then it got to a point where Speaker has decided to declare certain seats vacant because these people, as members of Parliament, decided to run on different tickets other than the ticket that brought them to Parliament. Now, the NPP went to court, and Supreme Court actually did say that these persons should not vacate yet until 10 days when they decide on what to do. It's caused a lot of tension in Parliament, and as a political analyst, what's your take on it?
Yeah, thank you very much once again for the opportunity, and greetings to your viewers and listeners. Yes, you rightly said that it's a history that we are witnessing or we are experiencing, not just today, but the very day that we declared the results for those who won the parliamentary seats. That was the beginning of our history. And you look at how we even chose the speaker, it was also historic. Everything from that day, how budget, seemingly was rejected, was approved, and good people voting and sitting in parliament, all these add to the history that we are all experiencing. But the beautiful thing is that it adds to our journey to have more perfect or near perfect democracy. And so it is all good. It's all good. And one thing that we have to also understand, especially for viewers, is that, yes, there is tension and it has to be so, but it is nothing out of the norm. It should be expected. And so it is not all that bad. It is not too dangerous. In fact, it is giving us the opportunity to understand the journey that we are embarking on, the democracy. It will never always be NDC and NPP all the time, And so it is very important that we prepare our minds that it will come very soon, where we will have one political party controlling the executive, that is having the presidency, and the other controlling the legislature. And so it is okay, it's good. And so far, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Doc.
Yes. But so far, I'm excited looking at the way both parties have handled it in a more matured way. And so we are all hoping that even though both have decided to sit on the majority side, we hope that in the next couple of hours, there will be sanity. But it's all good, even though it is historic, and that's why we are pioneers when it comes to democracy in Africa.
Right. And so currently, we love the fact that there's democracy. And as young, when we're young, we studied in school that we practice separation of powers. So today, what we are going to witness, is it going to let us understand what separation of powers really is, or we are going to see something else?
Yes, not entirely separation of powers. We have some form. It is some form. It is not the strict separation of powers we have because of our constitution and our democratic arrangements. We can hardly practice separation of powers. When we talk about separation of powers, we are talking about a situation where each of the three clearly established arms of government acts independently and also acts as a check on the other two. And so we have the executive led by the president, and then the legislature by the speaker, and then the judiciary by the justice, the chief justice. And so each one is allowed to be autonomous and independent. But our practice doesn't allow that. Because where you have strict separation of powers, those who belong to the executive are not supposed to belong to any of the other arms. So if you are a minister, you can never be an MP. And then if you are MP, you are also not allowed to be part of the executive or the judiciary. But in our case, about half of the executive are supposed to be MPs at the same time, compromising that separation. And then you can also be an MP and actually be part of the judiciary. In fact, we have a version where one person can belong to all the three arms. For instance, if you are an MP and you are made a minister, and not just any other minister, but justice minister. Justice minister is with the judiciary. As an MP, you are with the legislature, and you are a minister, so you are with the executive. And so when you have this, the same people who propose decisions, policies, follow it to parliament to try to defend and approve it, and so we are trying to make sure that these three arms are able to work based on their professional or their legal expectations. But it is very difficult for us to call for a strict separation. That's why we are where we are now.
Dr. Boabing, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I don't know if Elton has any questions for you. Elton, to you?
I just want to find out. So now that we have this matter on hand, I mean, the Supreme Court has taken a position that there should be a stay, at least for the next 10 days. The Speaker, as an independent arm of government that he represents, has taken a decision. Some will say that in terms of the interpretation of the law, is the Supreme Court that has that prerogative. What do you think should happen today?
Yes, thank you. But one thing we have to understand is that the Speaker acted first, and then Supreme Court acted. So we are yet to see and to hear the reaction of the Speaker in the context of what the Supreme Court has said. And so until that happens, it's very difficult for us to say that, oh, the Speaker has a stand and then the court has a stand. Probably on the basis of what the court did, the Speaker is going to come out and give a guidance to the House. And so until we hear from the Speaker, it will be very difficult. But I expect amicable solution for peace to prevail.
All right, and when you talk about amicable solution, what are you talking about? Because amicable solution depends on which political party favors.
Yes. In fact, I think I heard at least until today, the majority leader, and he said, whatever comes out based on Supreme Court decision, they are prepared to go with it.
Okay.
And I'm sure if the Speaker tells the NDC a position, I'm sure they will all respect it. And that is what I mean, that for us or for them to listen to what the law want them to do. And that should be it. I'm not suggesting that somebody would agree that to do something that doesn't conform to the law or the decisions of the two critical branches, that is the Speaker versus the judiciary.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Boabing. We are super grateful
Thank
you
you.
could join us.
Welcome.
And Dr. Boabing is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana and also a political analyst. We want to speak with Dr. Rashid Rahman, who is with the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs. When he's ready, we'll have a conversation with him as well. Today is actually history. It's history in the making, Elton.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
And we are all waiting to, I mean, the Speaker will have the ultimate say in this matter. And it's an hour and like 10 minutes away. The longest 1 hour and 10 minutes that you can get to everybody waiting with bated breath to hear the Speaker speak on this matter. And his word will settle or unsettle the issue.
With regards to this, for the NDC, they are willing to accept whatever the Speaker says.
Yeah.
But for the NPP, it has to be what the Supreme Court has said.
Absolutely. I mean, clearly the NDC, the MPP, they've taken refuge at the Supreme Court, while the NDC think that the Speaker should be the one to settle this matter once and for all. It's about separation of powers and who has the ultimate say in matters that relates to the Constitution.
I'll definitely ask you about this one. Who has the ultimate say? Because whenever they talk about the numbers, there's number 1, number 2, number 3. And so when we look at the hierarchy, one would say Speaker is number 3. But in this instance, the Speaker's words supersede what the Supreme Court says. Hello, good morning, Dr. Rashid Rahman.
Good morning.
How are you doing today? And thank you so much for joining us once again.
I'm fine. I'm traveling, so I don't have a lot of time. So maybe we can do this.
Sorry
quickly.
about that. We actually want to have your take on what's happening in Parliament this morning. What do you think should the Speaker say that will bring peace at the end of the day?
Well, anyway, good morning to you and to Elton. Elton, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
If I had the ear of the Speaker this morning, what I was going to tell him is to go into the House and just read a one-sentence statement saying, you know, our country's democracy is being tested more than it has ever been in our history. We have a stalemate. There is no clarity on 97 G and H. So I am going to adjourn Parliament until we get clarity, and then we can come back and have a conversation. So based on this, Parliament is adjourned sine die. So that is what I would advise the Right Honourable Speaker to do. Just one paragraph, and then that ends all this, at least for now.
At least for now. Elton?
Dr. Ron, indeed, your position is shared by a lot of people, including some members of the NDC who say that that should happen. But the danger here is that, you know, this particular sitting, the main business is to consider, if you like, a mini budget because of the elections, so that government can have something to spend beyond January 1. If the House is adjourned indefinitely and there's no room for the presentation of the budget, that will have economic consequences for the country.
Yes, economic consequences, I think, might be better than a crisis where people lose their lives. So we have to make a choice as a country.
But already in the House, the NDC and the MP, they've all taken positions on the majority side of the House. Clearly, this is not healthy.
It isn't, Elton. It isn't. And the Right Honourable Speaker should walk in, not recognize any majority or any minority, against sine die, and that ends the time heal, and hopefully tempest will cool off. And then our elders in this country, if there are any that are left, could get involved and hopefully we'll get this sorted.
All right.
All right. So I want to ask you this, Doc. Adjourn until when? You're saying that time heals. Of course, time does heal. But when will be the best time to gather back at Parliament to make a decision on it?
Well, I'm sure at the end of the day, even if today, there is confusion in Parliament. It's only dialogue that will bring us back together as a country. So until we are confident that the situation is such that we can have some level of decorum, peace in the House, and that our constitutional dispensation is protected, then they can come back.
All right.
And as to time, I don't know. As long as it takes.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Rashid
you.
Rahman, for joining us this morning. Now, Elton, adjourning, like you said, it could have some economic consequences on us.
Yes.
But from what Doc is saying, it's better than losing lives. But again, we look at the situation where we are in an economic crisis as a country. And it's even making people lose their lives. And so, is it not better for a decision to be made now than to wait till when?
I think so. I think a decision should be made now. But if the Speaker wants to adjourn, it definitely can be for 2 days or 3 days and then come back and then have the business of the House and move on.
Won't
but
we have
what
the
exactly?
Same thing again?
Exactly.
There'll be a repetition of what's happening today.
What are you postponing for later that you can't say it now? This particular session is going to last for just 3 weeks, and then the presentation of the budget for just the first 3 months of the year, so that the new government can now prepare itself and present another budget. In the absence of that, after January 1, the whole government was shut down. There's no budget for government to spend. I also know that Parliament, in this session, will consider the approval of 2 persons that have been nominated to the Supreme Court, plus some loans that are very critical. Exactly, very critical for this country. If all of these are not done, it will mean that all these businesses will stall. The budget, for example, will have serious issues for the country going forward beyond January 1.
We will see a massive drop in the city, right?
Of course. Once there is uncertainty, it will affect our city. So there are so many at stake here that we cannot just allow it to slide without taking a definite decision on this matter. The Speaker, had been in Parliament from 1993 up until 2020, very experienced, one of the most experienced persons in the chamber. When I spoke to the former Speaker before his ruling, he made reference to him and the fact that, he's lived Parliament, and for that reason, you expect that, if not because he's a Speaker, he more than qualifies to be a Supreme Court judge. So he understands the law. He understands the mood of the country. He understands the spirit and the letter of the law. I would expect that he will use his good judgment to make a pronouncement that will appeal to the conscience of both the MPP and the NDC. The way I see it, the NDC are okay if the Speaker come up and say that, based on the ruling of the Supreme Court, let's revert to earlier sitting arrangement. I'm sure the NDC, they may be murmuring here and there, there may be comments that were expressed.
But will the foot soldiers be okay with that?
I think that the foot soldiers will take inspiration for what will happen in the chamber.
Okay.
So if there's unity and peace in the chamber, they'll go home peacefully. But if, they are watching on TV. If it is Tadika's life and we are seeing fighting in the chamber like it happened in 2021, obviously, you will see similar things at the car park of Parliament House. But I know that the security agencies, they are aware of this. They've picked their own intelligence, and I think that they will not sit down and allow anything untoward to happen. But ultimately, what will happen in the chamber this morning, anytime after 10 a.m., will determine how Parliament and, of course, this country will go.
Does the post of the Speaker on Facebook send signs that he could adjourn sitting?
It looks like the Speaker is, God bless our homeland.
No decision from an individual or an institution.
Okay. So what does the law say? I think you should just, implement what the law says.
What does the law say?
For now, the Supreme Court is clothed with the authority to interpret the Constitution.
Which they have.
Yes, a party took the matter to the court, and that's party motion, and the Supreme Court has given them a stay. If rule of law is what we all expect it to be, then the rule of law must work here.
All right. All right, so you're still watching Prime Morning, and I told you earlier we'll be going to Parliament intermittently to bring you details of what is happening in Parliament currently. Some members of parliament are seated in parliament. What we know is both political parties, members of parliament representing both political parties, have decided to sit at the majority side. The NDC is saying they haven't received or been communicated to by the Supreme Court, hence they are still majority in parliament. For the NPP, the Supreme Court actually did say that they are still majority, and so they have also decided to sit at the majority side. Now, outside, their foot soldiers are there on the ground. People are asking, why are they there? What's their job there today? Well, we are hoping that the NDC will not also bus their foot soldiers there to cause any chaos. But we know that once the Speaker enters Parliament, the Speaker will make a decision that will either be good or bad for the country. And so for now, our hopes lies in the words of the Speaker. I don't want to be in the Speaker's shoes today.
No, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there either.
Yeah.
But he has a decision to make, and I'm sure that you will do justice to the law.
Quite a tough one.
I mean, you see, at the start of this parliament, a lot of people hailed it, that for the first time, we have a hung parliament.
We saw this coming.
Exactly. Yeah, so people were happy that for the first time, parliament was going to we're going to exercise its role of checking the executive. And then the fight that ensued between them during the election of the Speaker gave people a rethink. So, and then it's come up all the way to this level. And so the situation doesn't look so good. Let's just hope that MPs will act maturely and then give meaning to the title honorable. We don't want to see any scenes that will further make our parliament look bad, because the whole world at this very moment is looking at that.
Yeah.
I've monitored BBC, Al
Yeah.
Jazeera, they've all reported on this matter, and everybody is looking at what parliament and the Speaker will do to grow our democracy, if you like.
Everybody has been calling on Peace Council to have a word about what is happening in Ghana currently, and the Peace Council has actually engaged some of the members of parliament to make sure that peace prevails at the end of the day. We have a Reverend Dr. Kwabena Opuni-Frimpong, who is the former Secretary of Christian Council, joining us this morning. Good morning, Rev.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good, Brooklyn. And yourself?
We are doing fantastic as well. It's quite a tense morning, I must say, but we are hoping by the close of day, it will be all smiles.
I hope so.
Yes. Now, the Peace Council has engaged some members of parliament, and if you can share with the world how it's been so far when you engaged them.
Like you said earlier on, I'm a former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. Currently, I'm not part of the National Peace Council, so I'm not privy to the discussions they've had with them. So on that, I can't comment.
Okay. But for you as a former member of the Peace Council and with what is happening currently, of course, you still have the mandate to call on peace. So let's use this medium to call on peace.
Yes. Now, we cannot admit that at the moment we are in crisis. It's something that we must admit. Now, when you are in crisis, one of the things you must avoid is adding to the crisis, adding to the confusion. And that is why I will humbly want to plead with the leaders of the three arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, the three leaders. And thank God they are all bigger men and women. They must have a conversation. I want they take this issue even from the public domain, and the president and the speaker with the chief justice must have a closed-door meeting and come out with statements that will relax the nation, rather than the speaker sitting somewhere and the chief justice will be willing to reply, and the Judiciary House may be preparing a statement. Let's avoid that. Let the three of them have a conversation and give us leadership and bring us to the path of peace and maturity.
This is all we ask for. Now, there are some party foot soldiers who have also gathered there. And we don't know who to blame currently, but of course, we want a word to these party foot soldiers as well.
The same approach, the two leading political parties, leaders must lead. This is the time you need leaders. I'm not sure if the leaders of MPP and NDC are aware who is mobilizing the people who are now in the premises around Parliament. Is this something they know or they don't know? Who is giving leadership to MPP now and NDC at the moment? And they must all know that this is the only country we have. They are in leadership at the moment. They must not add to the confusion. They must save the situation. If need be, the two chairmen and general secretaries of MPP and NDC, while we hope the three arms of government, the leaders will quickly pick phone and call themselves that let's relax that atmosphere. Same the chairman and general secretaries of the two parties. I must talk to whoever is mobilizing them. If they are not the very people mobilizing them, let's save the situation. Don't add to the confusion.
All right, thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Kwabena Opuni Frimpong. We are super grateful that you could join us this morning. And Rev is calling on peace. So the leaders of the political parties, Reverend, is telling you that let your foot soldiers go home. That's what he said.
Right.
Yeah. They should go home.
Of course. They have no business. They say they are there to protect parliaments and their MPs. When did they start protecting them? Of course, we have them. And who brought them? That is the question. That's and what is the business there? Yeah. I mean, even for the MPs, I mean, today is special. The reason why they are here this early.
All right, so we have Maxwell Agbagba, who is on standby, and he's outside Parliament. He's with the foot soldiers. Let's talk to him. Maxwell? Hello, Maxwell. Hello. All right, so
outside the presence of Parliament House. You know, the Parliament is temporarily sitting at the dome here at the Accra International Conference Center. The main chamber is not being used today. So that's why you see heavy police presence here outside the Accra International Conference Center, the dome where the parliamentarians are sitting. What you can see right now are more barricades, crash barriers that have been brought here to ensure that parliamentary business today is conducted in a conducive and a serene manner. We've been outside here monitoring the situation for the past 1 hour. We've been monitoring what is happening inside the auditorium as well. We understand that both the NPP caucus in Parliament and the NDC caucus in Parliament have all occupied the majority side of the House in the chamber. But outside here, also there is tight security with police not leaving anything, to chance. They tell us that they leaving no stone unturned to ensure that today's parliamentary proceedings is done in an atmosphere of peace. Earlier, we saw some supporters of the New Patriotic Party, hundreds of them gathered here within the precincts of the main Parliament House itself. But the police team here managed to send them a bit down the streets, about 300 meters away, about 200 meters away from where I'm standing. So when you go 200 meters down the street, directly opposite the Osu Military Cemetery, you'll find some of the supporters, some of the MPP supporters, clad in party colors, standing there in solidarity with their members of Parliament. They wouldn't tell us who bashed them here, but more than 100 of them actually gathered down the streets in solidarity with their members of Parliament. We've seen scores of people also walking around here. We don't know why they are here, but the police is here to ensure that the parliamentary proceedings today is conducted in a conducive manner. You can see some of them standing in front of the main Parliament House itself. Outside the Accra International Conference Center, also the dome where the sitting is currently happening also. We have police presence here. There are MTTD officers ensuring the free flow of traffic. Now, if you want to get access to the Accra International Conference Center today, you would have to go through about 2 checkpoints before you'll be able to get access to the Accra International Conference Center. Police officers stationed behind the crash barriers and barricades would ask you questions. If your vehicle is not marked, expect more questions. It's easier for the press, to get in. But for people who are not in marked vehicles, you have to be a member of parliament to get an easy access to the place. Or perhaps you're attending another program at the Accra International Conference Center. It's before you can get access. Members of the public are not allowed in the chamber where the proceedings are happening. Even for members of parliament, before they get access to the dome where the sitting is taking place, they are taken through body scanners. They are checked before they are given entry to the place. There are special designated areas where the vehicles of the members of parliament have to park. So you can't just drive straight to the place. You would have to park at a specially designated area and then go through some of the checkpoints that have been mounted before you can get access to the main parliamentary where the parliamentary sitting is happening today. So what you can see in the background, like I mentioned earlier, more crash barriers and police barricades are arriving here on the ground to ward off uninvited persons who would want to, come here, maybe foment trouble or maybe cause chaos. So that's what is happening here. Security is very tight. If you're a member of the public and you have no business here, you will not be allowed here on the ground. So basically, that is what is happening. We're here and we'll be keeping tabs on what, is happening.
Right. Okay. So this is currently happening at the Parliament House, and they've moved them.
Yeah, they've moved them. In fact, the communication, let me just run through the communication that came this morning.
Yes.
So this came from Parliament. All MP staff, members of the press will be screened before entry into the chamber. Second, bodyguards of MPs will not be permitted in the chamber.
Yeah, I think...
Vehicles will not be allowed to park around the round arena.
Yeah.
MPs are to drop at the designated drop-off zone within the precinct of the conference center. The Ghana Police will provide direction to the designated drop-off zone. MPs are requested to wear their parliamentary identification tags. Access to the chamber will be from 8 a.m. The public, for the first time, will not be allowed to access the public gallery until further notice. So this is the arrangement for today.
However, when they got there, they were allowed to that side, although they were not allowed into the building, but they were allowed on the compound, but they've been moved to Parliament House. So they are no more at the Accra International Conference Center, but they've been moved. We have Adib Sani. I think you should pick up.
Right. So Adib Sani is a security analyst. So Adib, you have been observing the security arrangement. Any talks on how it has shaped up so far? Happy with the way the police, the military, they've done their job, as we all wait the speaker to enter at 10?
We learned from 2021, I would have expected the military not to show face, even around the vicinity of the area. This is a purely interior matter. As a matter of fact, the police could have handled it. We have the military coming in. When the situation gets very sticky, the police runs out of options, then as a means of backup, then they call on the military to
Adib, if I may just come in, the involvement of the military, according to the Deputy Clerk of Parliament, Parliament has a standing arrangement with the Ghana military. So every Tuesday, according to the Parliamentary Service, the military come in to do their general sweep of the chamber and around the precinct of Parliament. They come in very early. The reason why we are seeing them today is because the media, members of Parliament, decided to report to work much early than the usual time. They usually come up between 6 and 7:30 in the morning, and then they leave. So as we speak, there's no military presence at Parliament. That's the explanation coming from Parliament.
So because I this morning, I've seen a number of pictures on social media. I've had my contacts there sending me pictures of some military officers present, and I've granted a number of interviews, and I've called for the withdrawal of the military because we wouldn't want to see a repeat of 2021. So it is gratifying to know that there is no single soldier there. That is going by what you have just said, because this can be achieved by the police. But you see, I have said something in the past few days, and it looks like everything is playing out right before our faces. Whilst everybody is talking about the potential of a clash between the members on the MPP side and the NDC side, I looked beyond just the parliamentarians. The fact that this could transcend to their followers, because the politicians they inspire their followers. Okay, so if the political god masters, the goddesses are fighting, what does it tell the supporters? All right, so I am not also surprised that some individuals, and by the way, we cannot believe about this, okay? Those foot soldiers there were basked by someone.
Obviously.
There's no denying that fact, okay? So the problem is, because I'm receiving another information that is pointing to the fact that NDC, they are also on their way to the place. Even a health walk, when they accosted each other, it was violent and someone removed the can, okay? So on this occasion, considering how volatile, how precarious the matter is, trust me, when they come into contact with each other, it's going to be chaotic. That is why I'm suggesting that, look, the police personnel on the ground, they should push one side of the political divide towards Osu as far as possible, away from the area, and the other side towards the rich hospital area. We don't want anyone near, because when they come into contact with one another, trust me, it's going to be very chaotic. That is why we need to be careful, all right? And beyond the vicinity of Parliament, what happens to the TV supporters out there who are inspired by their parliamentarians? Now, if any ugly scenes play out in Parliament like it did in 2021, it's going to be ugly out there, okay? So that is why it is very imperative that we are extremely careful with the way we handle this issue and try as much as we can to find a peaceful settlement to what is happening. I do know that the speaker, based on videos I've seen on social media, was at Jubilee House. I don't know what discussions it is he had with the president. And I also have heard Sam Okujeto talk about the need for Peace Council to intervene. I, at my level, also advised the Office of the National Chief Imam, the Christian Council, to intervene through the parliamentary leadership to get them to act in a lawful way. If not, it would send very negative, dangerous signals to their teaming supporters out there. So we are at the precipice. I mean, this is very important for our democracy as we head into this year's election. And I've always indicated, based on signs, that look, the stakes are high. This year's election is going to be the most important and the biggest test to our democracy since the inception of the Fourth Republic. If you consider the level of political desperation, how people are willing to even kill for political power, that sends the stakes over the roof. So we need to be very careful, because the international community is looking on. The investor community is also looking on to see how we manage our country. And I've had people call me almost on a daily basis. Just yesterday, I went to the hospital with a friend of mine. Then I met some individuals who approached me. Mr. Security Analyst, the tension is too high. Do we have to be in the country? In fact, one of them said he wants to move to Burkina Faso because he has relatives there until after the elections is over. So if someone wants to move into a terrorist heartland where Al-Qaeda-linked militants are wreaking havoc, then you can imagine what the person feels about Ghana at this point in time. It is shocking. It is disturbing, I must say.
Rosalind.
Okay, Adib, hi, this is Rosalind.
How are you?
I'm good. So, Adib, we spoke with Dr. Rahman. He actually did say that the best solution to this is for Speaker to adjourn Parliament. Do you agree with him?
Well, yes, but they have to convene to be adjourned. You get me? You cannot stop them from going into the chamber in the first place. But considering how heated the atmosphere is, I think it should be adjourned, particularly to get the foot soldiers out of that place as well.
Okay.
Then we can do more of the preventative diplomacy, the consultations and the backroom stuff. And hopefully we get them to agree. Look, this side you are going the majority, that side you are going to the minority. But I think the problem also largely lies on the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so when it comes to issues of legality, I love to listen to luminaries. I've listened to lawyer Inu Safseni, former MP for Tamale Central. I've listened to Professor Bafo Ajumendia. I've listened to quite a number of very prominent people with legal background who said categorically that what the Speaker did, his directive, his ruling, is not illegal. It is within the confines of the law. Even some people express opinions about the timing and all that, but the crux of the matter is he did nothing illegal, all right? So now for the Supreme Court to come out with this judgment, in fact, it's not a judgment, this is stay. It's what makes people feel that, hey, something is amiss with the Supreme Court, to the extent of my very good brother, Alassane Soyini, describing the Chief Justice as a women's organizer. I think in the past, it is incomprehensible for anyone to come out to say certain things about the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But you would realize that you are a journalist. These days, it's a free for all. People say as they wish. You know why?
But you can't
Because
say
they
as
seem
you
to
wish.
be-
You still have to be very cautious of what you say. So
No-
as much
no
as
doubt. I'm not justifying.
there's freedom of
Rosen,
speech, you have to be very careful.
No doubt about that. There's no justification whatsoever. That is the apex court. If you are denied justice in any court, when you get to the Supreme Court, it's the last stop, okay? But what I am saying is, and let me also indicate again that I'm not justified. If you listen to radio and watch TV, you have the kind of things people have to say about the Supreme Court, calling them something FC, I've forgotten, and all manner of derogatories.
Now you
It's
are
simply
a security analyst. Let me ask you this, Adibi. You are a security analyst, and people are calling the Supreme Court all sorts of names. That is actually jeopardizing our security one day, because we ought to obey the law. So is it not time that we make sure that people do not speak against the Supreme Court?
It's fine, like you rightly mentioned, we live in a dispensation where you are free to talk, but obviously it has some limitations, okay? I think the onus also lies on the Supreme Court to make itself unbiased and to do things according to the law and not be seen as playing to the gallery of one side of the political divide.
Adib.
I wanted to ask
Adib,
I'm sorry, let me ask you this. I know Elton wants to ask a question, but
He said something
Yeah.
about video, the speaker going to meet the president.
Yeah.
I've just gotten a statement from the office of the speaker, so I just wanted to update on exactly what happened
Okay,
on that
so
matter.
Adi, please listen.
So the statement says that the attention of Parliament has been drawn to a video circulating on social media insinuating that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babem, has been invited to a meeting with the President to negotiate a settlement in respect of the pronouncement by the Right Honourable Speaker on Thursday, 17th of October 2024, in response to a call by the Minority Leader to declare the seat of 4 members of Parliament vacant. Parliament states without any equivocation there is no iota of truth in the insinuation in the circulated video. The video in question was taken on 4th July 2024 when the Speaker led a delegation to present the Maiden Democracy card to the President. The attempt to wrongly label the video and twist fact to impugn the integrity of the Honourable Speaker in Parliament is not only disingenuous but unfortunate. The general public is hereby advised to ignore the attempt to hoodwink them into believing whatever transpired and treat the narrative with the contempt it deserves. And this is coming from the office of the Speaker of Parliament.
Well, it is a good thing that they have cleared it because it made a lot of rounds on social media. But I would have also thought that no matter what, whether it is an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting, there should be some kind of communication between the President and the Speaker of Parliament. And between the Speaker of Parliament and other stakeholders, like I mentioned before, okay? There's absolutely nothing intrinsically wrong at this point in time for meetings to be held to find an amicable solution to what is going on. But maybe, perhaps, the narrative this old video comes with, sort of, you are going to sit with the president to negotiate. No, I don't think there's anything of that nature happening. And that is why I was quite emphatic about the fact that it's a video that is making rounds on social media. It is something that, at my personal level, I cannot confirm because it is something that is on social media. So it is good that the office of the Speaker of Parliament has come out to clarify. But that notwithstanding, it is imperative that there is some level of backdoor diplomacy happening so we find an amicable solution to what is going on. I was just on TV just before I joined you again, watching what was going on in Parliament. I mean, some have moved to the other side, others have, held chairs to themselves and all that. So the possibility that this might become violent and would transcend into violence in the streets is quite high. That is why we have to explore all diplomatic options or channels to deal with the situation before it spirals out of control. Like I indicated, we are at the precipice, okay? The whole international community is watching to see how we are able to come out of this situation. But if we don't manage it well, it would be a disaster. I pray it doesn't happen that way, though.
I was going to ask you, is there also a possibility that it could come out very peaceful? Because the NDC has said that depending on what the special, what do I keep on saying special? The speaker, sorry. What the speaker says, they are willing to agree to it. So there's a high possibility we will have peace and not violence.
Well, since the NDC says they are willing to abide by what the speaker says, let us also be mindful of the fact that if it goes the other way, I don't think the MPP would agree. If the speaker says, oh, MPP, go to the minority, NDC, I don't think it's something that they are going to take kindly to. But on the other hand, it looks like it is more doable if the speaker says NDC should go to minority. But egos are also involved here. Because I've spoken with a number of parliamentarians who say, no, we are an arm of government. The Supreme Court can't come and tell us what to do. We operate with our standards, okay, with our values. We have our own house rules, all right? So it's a very dicey situation. But if you ask me, I think the chances or the probability of things spiraling out of control lies in the speaker saying MPP go to minority. But it's much lower based on what other MPs have said on the part of the NDC, like Mama Ayerga. If they are asked to go to minority, I think the chances of violence would subside to a very large extent. But I am worried about what is happening outside of the chamber with supporters coming in, because I'm picking up intelligence that there are some NDC supporters on their way to Parliament also. I pray they don't come into contact with the NPP, as that has the potential of spiraling into a violent confrontation.
We trust the security to do the job, and we know that definitely security will make sure that this doesn't happen. Of course, there are other places that they can gather as far as they are not on the ground of Accra International Conference Center, but they have been relocated. We trust security to do its job. Do you have any more questions, Elton?
No.
For Adib? Adib, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think he was making a point. Before you go, he was making a point about what the Supreme Court had said. Were you making? Yes.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, lately I am very uncomfortable with the kind of rhetoric we have about the Supreme Court in traditional media, on social media. And there's a name, they call them, I've forgotten. Yeah, but there's an FC attached, something FC. And it's detrimental to our democracy. The Supreme Court is one of the most important institutions so far as the democracy of this country is concerned. So if the people, based on the information they are fed, day in, day out, begin to lose trust and confidence in the Supreme Court and have the audacity to say impugning things against the Supreme Court, then it becomes a problem. But in as much as a security person who believes in the rule of law, who believes in certain principles and values that we have to safeguard, detests the things some political players particularly say about the Supreme Court. On the other hand, I think the Supreme Court also has a duty to be seen as acting in an unbiased way, as acting in the interest of the country, as acting not in any other person's interest, okay? Because there are a lot of questions people are asking, but I am not in a position to give judgment because, like I told you, I'm not a lawyer, okay? This LGBTQ thing, it's been before the Supreme Court for God knows how long. But from nowhere, within 24, 48 hours, you come and stay execution, and that is what makes people feel that, hey.
I think with regards to that, because you are not a lawyer, like you said earlier, with regards to that, the Supreme Court actually made a decision based on emergency, and when there's court hearing, there are emergency cases, and so we cannot criticize the Supreme Court for making an emergency on that decision. Now, we know this is a parliament, we know that we are going to vote very soon. Yes, but if you make that statement, somebody outside might be incited by that statement that you made. Okay, please go ahead.
No, let me explain. Like I told you, look, I'm a security person, okay? I'm not a legal person. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying this based on opinions I'm picking up day in, day out about people's opinions about the Supreme Court. Okay. It is not in anybody's interest, okay, for the Supreme Court to be run down. I'm a very strong advocate of the Supreme Court and the importance they play in our democracy, okay? But we cannot run away from the fact that the Supreme Court also has a responsibility, a role to play in safeguarding its image so that people would learn to trust and be confident in the Supreme Court's ability to give justice.
All right, thank you very much.
And that is the crux of it. I'm not drawing conclusions whatsoever, not at all.
Okay, Adib, thank you so much for joining us. We are very grateful that you made time. Have a good day, Adib. All right. So that's Adib Sani, security analyst, and he's been speaking with us. It's still on the issue of what's happening in Parliament this morning. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back very soon. Don't go. So watching Prime Morning, my name is Roslyn Felly. I'm not here alone. Elton Brobe is here. And Elton, you used to report from Parliament. Yes. And this is the first time this is happening.
Of course. It's very interesting. And we've got 24 more minutes for the House to be in session.
Yeah, it looks like we might go on till probably 12 o'clock. But I think that as soon as House starts, we will go off and then House will take over. But before then, we are here. And I don't know if we'll be allowed to read some messages. I don't know. But I know that most of the people at home watching us today, you will glue to your television set because we want to see and hear what the Speaker will say. Because Ghana's future currently lies in the hands of the Speaker. As to whether he will declare the NDC as majority in Parliament or declare the NPP as majority in Parliament, we are yet to know that. But some people are also calling on him to adjourn sitting. Yeah,
I mean, it's an option the Speaker can take. I mean, the Speaker is the Speaker, and his decision, obviously, will rest this matter, regardless whether you go with the Supreme Court, whether you stay with the decision, whether we adjourn the House indefinite. We'll all wait to see. I know that there's been a lot of talks behind the scenes, even still ongoing. People, influential individuals have gotten themselves involved in the best possible way to bring about peace after all said and done. MPs, they are in the chamber. You know, we are in an election year. 46 days to go for the election. They are sending a message out there that the NDC says that we are taking control, and that our majority in Parliament is a sign that we are taking control. The MPP doesn't want that to happen. And so if this was like a year before, maybe the situation will be different. But because of the high stakes, at stake as far as the election is concerned, that's how I'm sure all these matters are happening. But the Speaker has the ultimate responsibility to do things and do things right. If he wants to adjourn the House, sit down, I'm sure you provide justification. But even if that should be his approach, then to what extent will that have an effect on the two matters at stake? Because the two matters are the Speaker's declaration of the seats vacant And then the Supreme Court saying that no, allow 10 days for us to look at the substantive matter. So for the next 10 days, allow them to come to the chamber, virtually declaring the Speaker's decision null and void. So if you say I'm suspending House indefinitely, on what message are you sending across? That the decision I took on Thursday, 17th October, should stand, or the Supreme Court decision should stand. I mean, it will also create confusion. Remember, these 4 MPs, they represent their constituents. So if you adjourn indefinitely and we don't even know their fate, as to whether the court decision brings them back or your decision should stay, how are their constituents going to be served? So even if you want to adjourn indefinitely, you must provide reasonable, writings to back it. Other than that, you leave it in more confused state. Wow.
Anyway, you can keep sending your messages to us on 055-157-5757, 055-157-5757. Very soon, we'll also try to activate the phone lines to hear your voices this morning. I think that it's time for us to hear every Ghanaian's voice. You are supposed to be citizens and not spectators. Let's hear your voice this morning. I'm here with Elton Brobe, and we are still looking at what's going to be happening in Parliament today. Kweku Asante, our colleague who is a parliamentary correspondent, is on grounds. And of course, Maxwell Agbagba, he's outside and monitoring what is happening. Some party foot soldiers from the MPP have gathered. And from what Adib Sani, who is a security analyst, is saying that he has picked up intel that the NDC is also busing their party foot soldiers to the ground. They are not at Accra International Conference Center. We heard that the NPP party foot soldiers have been moved to Parliament House, and we don't know where the NDC party foot soldiers will be taken to, but we know that the police is on grounds and making sure that peace prevails at the end of the day. We also heard that Ghana Peace Council actually has spoken to some members of Parliament to make sure that peace will prevail. For the NPP, they still stand their grounds that come what may, they want the ruling to be what the Supreme Court has said. For the NDC, they are saying that whatever the Speaker of Parliament says is what they will take. And so if the Speaker says they are minority, they will take it. If the Speaker says they are majority, they will take it. But let's not forget that they had a press conference and they did say they will guard that seat as majority jealously. Will they use those words, or they will still abide by what the Speaker is going to say today? Some people are saying that the Speaker should just adjourn seating. And of course, Elton has explained to us, if there's going to be an adjournment, how is it going to be like? Because it also comes with its own consequences. So sending your messages to us, and we are here to read more comments. Let me see what comments we have coming in. So, all right, so I'm going to start here. So I'm trying to get the comments to be read. Okay, so this one says he always comes early, even sometimes 2 hours before sitting. He's always punctual as early as possible in the chamber before any other member because he's a majority chief whip. So he did as he usually does when there's any sitting. This from Abdul Aziz Jibani. All right, so I'll come back and read a few. All right, so this one says, Al-Hassan Cisse from Zero Central, what role is the NPP members who are in their party dresses at the presence of Parliament to do? And all these party members are coming from NPP chief constituency. Imagine the NDC members are also mass up to the Parliament House, the chaos that will happen. NPP should know that their actions are just like the NDC, who is in opposition. In any case, what polls gives them the majority that they are claiming to hold on to? 137, 137. Someone should tell us which is a greater number here. The Speaker of Parliament is the worst speaker in the history of Ghana. Oh, really? All right, Nana regime is full of trouble while the nation is bleeding. He wants to be a godfather in Ghana. Ghana is confused since 7 January 2024. Please try to make things clear to us. Is Speaker wrong with regards to his ruling? Well, in some way, he is not wrong, but one thing that he did say, Elton, that I liked was the fact that he said he was not interpreting what the Constitution was saying. So it meant that, yes, it was up to the Supreme Court to interpret, and the Supreme Court has done just that. Good morning. My name is Omarion Tema. It's sad our leaders we believed in and voted for are behaving like Class 1 students in Parliament. Okay, so they say they are behaving like Class 1 students in Parliament. Today, they say they are fighting for you. That's what they say.
Yeah, I don't think that they are behaving like Class 1 students. So long as there's no chaos happening, I think that they are just doing their work perfectly. The whips, they have done their job. They have whipped their members to come to Parliament early, and they are in the chamber doing the work of that they've been assigned to do. So that's why Anodumpe was there very early. And when he got there, he went to the chamber to check to see whether there's been, some reconfiguration of the chamber. And then the whip on the minority side, or the NDC. Now it's difficult to use the word majority.
So let me just say, come for us.
MPP caucus and NDC caucus. So the one on the NDC caucus, Government Kwame Abuja, was also there to ensure that everything was done right. So they've done their work. It tells you that when it matters to them, they will be punctual. Imagine if there was nothing big at stake today. Some of them will still be in their constituencies campaigning. And Parliament will be in session. You will see 10, 5, 15 MPs on the floor doing the business of the day. But because this directly affects them in a way, they are all of them woke up from their homes, 6 a.m., all of them were at Parliament ensuring that they go there and take their seats. I will wish that they show the same seriousness beyond today when these matters are not before the House so that they can end their keep. But for now, I will say that we don't want chaos. We don't want fighting. They can agree to disagree, but they should go by the standing orders of the House and, of course, the Constitution of the Republic, the same way the Speaker is going to preside over the House today. But this chaos that ensued during the inauguration of the pie is something that we don't want to see. The whole world is watching. International media, they've got their focus on Ghana. Our democracy is at stake. The separation of powers is also at stake here. Will Parliament respect the Supreme Court? That's what we are all waiting to see. Will the Speaker stay with his ruling? It is an option that he can take. Is the Speaker going to adjourn the House indefinitely? It's also an option. Whatever the Speaker decision will be, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and to say that the Speaker is a very experienced person, a lawyer of so many years standing, and he understands the Constitution.
And he was very careful when he was speaking.
When he was speaking, clearly,
very, very careful.
He decided to use the standing orders and, of course, the Constitution of the Republic when he came to that decision. The matter of interpretation is not in his remit. It is up to the Supreme Court to do. And the Supreme Court has not even come to interpreting the Constitution. What they have done is say that stay the course until the determination of the case. When the case itself is called, I'm sure the Speaker, the Speaker or his lawyer will be there to justify why the Speaker took the decision. The Supreme Court will listen to the argument from both sides and then will go into their conclave, come up and then tell the whole country this is what the framers of the Constitution intended it to be. And then all of us will go home smiling.
The question here is, why is it that Ghanaians cannot, or the members of Parliament cannot just wait for that 10 days?
Because politics and election is at stake here. And, the politician will smile with you when you are singing his tune. But he will disagree with you if you think that you've taken a decision or a position that is contrary to his.
It's just
absolutely. It's just some few days.
Yes.
They can't stand. All the conversation around this election points to the fact that it's very close. And even as we speak, various polls that we are that we have suggest that it is either the MPP or the NDC, regardless. Depending on who is doing the poll. And so it is too early to call that this party is in an absolute lead. And that's what makes it very interesting. And so sometimes politics is driven by perception. So somebody is watching, and then will come to the conclusion that the NDC, they've managed to assert their authority. And then psychologically, it tells on the person. The same way for the MPP. The person is watching, and then they said, and then the conclusion is that the MPP, they've managed to reclaim what they lost last week. It also tells on the conscience or the mind of the person. So it is a mind game here ahead of the elections. That is how come they will take this matter so serious. Otherwise, declaration of sometimes people have crossed carpet. How come in 2020 when Andrew Esiama filed to contest as an independent candidate, nobody from the NDC raised an objection?
Because they had majority, a huge majority.
The MPP had a huge majority.
Yes.
So they didn't care losing one MP because they still had about over 30 more seats. So losing one seat was not going to be an issue. That is why when I spoke to the former speaker last week, his argument was that the MPP came to see him. He told them, go and write a letter formally dismissing your member before I will take a decision whether he will go on to hold on to his seat or not. And then he did that. So, I mean, election is at stake. It is very important. That's how come they are haggling over each other. But at the end of the day, we don't want chaos. That for me, should be the watchword.
Right. And we are being joined by lawyer Alexander Kumsing, who is the Deputy Director at Research, Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate of the National Peace Council, joining us this morning. Good morning, lawyer.
Hello, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well,
Great. Today is a test of our democracy. The unfortunate thing is that we are seeing party foot soldiers gathering around where the parliament proceedings are supposed to take place, which is quite worrying. People are seeing so many pictures on social media, and it's making people uneasy at this point. As a member of the Peace Council, of course, people are also calling on Peace Council to do something about it. And we heard earlier that you have engaged some members of Parliament with regards to brewing the peace pipe or smoking the peace pipe. Can you tell us exactly how that conversation went?
Okay, so I may not be able to give details of the conversation, but what I can say is that we have engaged all the stakeholders, or let me say most of the stakeholders, and we are very confident that today peace will reign. What I would want to tell the teeming followers of the political parties is that they should not be apprehensive. Their leaders would choose Ghana, and peace will prevail in the Parliament of Ghana.
Okay, so we know that for sure.
Yes, please.
So if you don't mind telling us, which leaders did you speak to, please?
I would not be able to divulge.
But you spoke to the leaders of both political parties?
We have engaged widely across the table. That's what I can say.
All right. Did they sign a peace pact for this particular sitting?
No, we don't need to get to that point of signing a peace pact for today. It's just an assurance that we have from all the stakeholders we engage that they would rise up to the occasion and choose Ghana and let peace prevail.
If you don't mind me asking, when does this engagement happen?
It's been ongoing. It's been ongoing, I think, from probably yesterday and even this morning. So we are very hopeful. We are very, very optimistic.
Fantastic. Now, if this has been ongoing, people are concerned about the fact that there are party foot soldiers on the ground, because if peace must prevail, then we must not see these party foot soldiers, because under normal circumstances, they are never around the environs of Parliament.
So that is why we want to use your medium, to address everybody that this is a normal parliamentary discourse that is ongoing. Your presence there will not change anything. If you go there and you become a nuisance to the state and the laws of Ghana catch up with you, you do not have to call on Peace Council because you have yourself to thank. We are asking everybody to remain calm. We've been through this democracy over 30 years, and we are very hopeful that we will choose democracy, we will choose Ghana, and things peace will remain. So we would also want to use your medium and also ask you, the media, to help us reach all Ghanaians and tell everyone, you don't need to be around Parliament. You are not a parliamentarian. You have no business there. You chose your MP, and they are there to represent you, and they will do just that. Thank you.
Okay, but before you go, what do you have to tell those who have passed their party foot soldiers to the ground? Because the party foot soldiers are there, and so want to speak directly to them.
So I don't know for a fact if somebody has passed party foot soldiers to the place.
Yeah, I'm telling you that the NPP has passed party foot soldiers to the place.
Well, I cannot take what you are telling me because I haven't verified that fact.
Okay.
But what I would say to the people who have been banned or who have found themselves at a place is that there are laws in this country. You cannot just move around and do what you think is right and what you want to do. So just make sure you are being a law-abiding citizen so that the law doesn't catch up with you.
All right.
We have done what we are supposed to do, engage wisely, and we are convinced that things will go smoothly today.
Fantastic. Before you go, maybe Elton has something to say. Elton?
Well, I think that we are all waiting to see how this will pan out. But I'm wondering whether, I mean, this morning we're told by the leaders of Parliament that even amongst them, it's been difficult for them to meet to have a discussion. Now, all of them are in the chamber. Usually, there should have been a precedent where the agenda, the mind of the speaker would be told the leaders. That hasn't happened yet. You still expect that peace will prevail at the end of everything. It's just a few minutes to 10 where the real action will start.
So, Elton, I know we've had several parliamentary sittings. I don't know if for a fact, before every parliamentary sitting, they have 3 sittings.
Absolutely.
But we have engaged, and we are hopeful that based on the assurances that we were given, Ghana would prevail, peace will prevail, and today will become a very great day in our history, and no negative thing will happen to Ghana's democracy and Ghana's peace. Thank you. Thank
you very much. And that's lawyer Alexander Kumsi, who is a deputy director at a Research, Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate of the National Peace Council, who joined us. Thank you so much, lawyer, for joining us. Elting, how many minutes more? It's like the countdown is on. 4 minutes more.
We've got 4 more minutes to go. 4 more minutes to go.
But Parliament is still not full.
Yes, because they've all decided to take one side. Nobody wants to
even that one side is not full.
Yes, so yeah, it tells you that not everybody is in tune. So today nobody wants to be in a minority. So that's how come the minority side is so empty. But we will see.
But majority side is still not full.
It's still not full. It's still not full. I mean, people are still campaigning. Remember that 4 MPs, they have no business. For them, they are chilling, probably watching Joy Prime to see the outcome of the speaker's ruling, whether they wear their jackets and then head to Parliament. And so we've got some few minutes. After 10, we expect the speaker to walk in. Anytime after 10, it's unclear whether he will do so at 10 or later in the day. But whatever
maybe he'll walk in around 1 o'clock.
We are watching.
Like he did the last time?
Yes, we are watching. Whatever the speaker chooses to do, he has a decision to make.
It's quite interesting. We are definitely in interesting times. We want you to take a look at the video of what is happening in Parliament currently. And so in Parliament, so Elsie, I think you should run us through what is happening in Parliament.
Right, so this is clearly the chamber. Because the House is not in session, this is an informal interaction going on. So members are interacting with each other. Members are just interacting with each other. The House has yet to start. So this will go on until the speaker is in the chamber. When the speaker is in the chamber and the House is called to session, then everything is on record. So until that happens, I mean, it's just an open play for everybody. So this is the chamber. I'm sure these are some members.
Yes, and you know, some members I can tell where you know they're gathering. Yes, they're gathering. So the NPP has gathered on one side, having a conversation in a caucus meeting. I see Dakwa Newman and a few others who have gathered, trying to have make a decision on where to sit. I'm guessing that is what it is, because the NDC have occupied the majority side, and they went there earlier in their numbers.
And so this is the clerk,
yes,
whose back we are seeing, and he is interacting. He's actually speaking to the majority leader.
Yeah,
and
Honorable Apenyo Marking
yes, so
is
clearly
there, yeah.
something is going on about maybe they're sitting arranged. So this is the clerk, and this is the deputy whip, Habib, who's also speaking, and I think somebody is pulling the clerk away. So
it looks like there's a bit of misunderstanding going on.
Confusion.
Now, so Honorable Attoforsen got in very early and took his seat in Parliament with his people.
So I think they're about to address the media.
Okay.
Perhaps they will tell us exactly what is happening.
Right.